Andrew, thank you so much for coming on, man. It is such like a pleasure to have you on. I think you're such a cool dude. And just like a little backstory for everyone, I met you when my first job out of high school was Vivint. I left high school and came straight into Vivint, no sales, no nothing. And they do like a little training seminar, and you were the inside trainer. Sales trainer.
I don't know what they were smoking over there to put me in that role, but
I walked in and I was like, oh, this is kind of a young guy doing this, teaching all these young bucks to do sales. But I mean, you were a solid trainer, and I think that was like a very interesting job that you had. What kind of like got you into that job?
Yeah. I don't know exactly what got me that position. I knew I wanted to make money, and everyone I knew that worked at Vivint was like crushing it. I was like, what am I doing wrong? At the time I was working at New Skin doing phone sales, and it was 0% commission.
Sick.
It was just an hourly wage. And so to even get anything back on a sale, I was like, I guess I got to make this change. I started there, and within a year was the sales trainer. I just was really, really focused on leading by example. I really wanted to become a manager over there.
Yeah. So from Vivint, how long were you at Vivint? You were at Vivint for like
total time, probably 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah. I was there for about a year and then got promoted to be the trainer. Did that for about 9 months and then hit the phones again for a few more months and then just bounced completely.
And what point in Vivint did you start Moby? Because I know you were doing it while you were there, right?
Yeah. I remember sitting at Vivint and like making commission checks was awesome, but I knew the value of the contracts that we were signing people up for. And I just couldn't get over the thought of like Todd sitting there with all the money that 100%. We had like made him being like, that needs to be me. I need to be the person that's getting paid off.
Head honcho. Kind of
like I love Vivint and it's so great, but I wanted to be the owner of something. And so, I was thinking of all these different businesses that I could potentially go into, but all of them required a lot of capital to get started.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I figured that the cheapest way to get started with my own business was to start at a thrift store where we were paying a few dollars per item. And I knew that it was going to be I knew that it was going to be profitable in some sense, just because you're only investing $50 to begin with when you go to the thrift store. Right. And so, while I was training, I had started that little tiny thrift store. It's actually my wife's idea. She went to fashion school up at Slick.
Awesome. I didn't know that actually.
She got a degree, and part of her graduating assignment was to come up with like a business model revolved around fashion. And she came up with Moby, the mobile thrift store. We were going to be based out of like a little silver Airstreamer.
Yeah, cool.
And then kind of be like I don't even know the term, but like we would travel around and people would come find us, and we'd be like an attraction that would travel around to people, and it would be the best traveling thrift store ever. But it's not like a food truck that can just be traveled around. Totally. You have if you ever see a clothing shop that's out of an Airstreamer, it's parked. It's never moving. And so there's just a ton of regulation. And one day at work, I was reading this book called The $100 Startup. And it basically just says, so many of us have so many good ideas, but we're waiting for something to enable us to move forward. Yeah. And if you have $100 in your pocket and you haven't started something, then you're messing up. You know? You're wasting time because it's not going to be perfect. It's like there's so many iterations and samples, and whatever you're doing, it's not going to be like, oh, I want to come up with an idea of a business and I started the business and it's going great.
Yeah, totally.
But if you haven't even spent the first $100, you're already off to a bad start. Yeah. So start something, and that's what we did. Kind
of the point? Like, what was the point at Vivint where you were like ready to take that leap of leaving Vivint? Because I'm sure that was a very stable job to leave.
Yeah, dude. To be honest, I left way too early. I left
really
remarkably early from where I should have been. I
mean, you got to make the jump eventually.
Right.
Sooner better than later, I guess.
the salary was missed. I will tell you that. There were plenty of times where I contemplated hitting up the old vice president of sales and being like, please.
It's not working. Take me back.
Turns out it's not amazing.
Yeah.
But I stuck through it and now we're chilling.
I mean, it paid off huge.
Yeah. Things have been going great.
Yeah. I feel like, sorry, just to kind of like backtrack into the like leaving Vivint, was there ever like as soon as you left Vivint, was Moby right off the ground, or were you guys still kind of working on like websites and stuff like that? Or
so when working at Vivint, I was getting a consistent salary check that was $2,500 or around that, and it was really great. And I remember we would do a Moby pop-up where we would make like $3,000 or $4,000, and I'd be like, I'm already making more here than I am there. But I forgot that I had to spend $500 on like the space that we were doing the pop-up at, and then the shipping costs and like the $3,000 that I was seeing from Moby.
Yeah.
It was just like I was seeing everything that wasn't actually mine and thinking that it was like as valuable as these checks that was all mine. You know what I mean? Was not all profit. That's all I'm trying to say is that.
I mean, taxes are taken out and self-employment tax sucks.
Dude.
It's the worst thing in the world.
Much. And like, even with, I mean, that's the other problem as well is there was no taxes taken out of that. Like, like with the self-employment tax, you basically collect it all. And then if you already have payroll established, then I guess you can already have your tax being taken out of it. But when you're just getting Shopify payments, the tax is included. So you're seeing more money than what is actually yours. Yeah. So I think we had done a few pop-ups and like we were starting to build traction. Moby initially gained a lot of momentum because we wanted to be like, I don't know a better way to say it. We wanted to sell influencers clothes. We wanted, like, it started off right now, if you look at our Instagram, it's like very curated vintage and like curated thrift, and it's not just random stuff. But at a certain point, we were just selling old people's H&M clothes because you really admired the person. I remember that it was like their H&M clothes. We sold like Piper Smith and, Indie Blue and Zoe Laz. And
like you could shop their closet.
Yeah, you could shop their old clothes and the pictures that they've already posted. And that was the other great thing is we didn't have to like schedule a shoot with them. We could just find the old photos of them wearing these items and be like, remember this dress that you loved so much? You can buy this actual dress. And then they'd get stoked because they were getting a payout from it. Yeah. And they'd post about it. And it just kind of helped our brand get established. Yeah. We don't do that anymore. Now it's just more curated vintage. And I mean, more than that now. Yeah. So
do you feel like thrifting was always kind of the way you wanted Moby to go, or was it kind of hard to see that like full like 10-year vision when you were like back in?
It was really hard. We looking at like Moby's mission statements. Yeah. We are very, very heavily influenced by sustainability.
Totally.
Our whole goal is to save the planet. And I think really at the time of starting Moby, that was like the peak time to go to the mall and go to H&M and go to PacSun. And like, if you didn't have like the pleated denim or like the ultra long tee,
like curved hem, you're like
the curved hem layering with
moto
like,
jeans. You're like, can we not?
Like OG, like off-brand fear of God. You know what I mean? And like the cinch for your pants would be past your knees.
They're all like, all you have are joggers.
The NMD era, right?
Yes,
the Yeezy 750 era.
Yeah, truly, I don't think you could have seen that 10 years ago today. People would be shopping at DI and like Pitto's Closet and
more often than
Zara. It's weirder to go to Zara and H&M,
dude, and it was never like that.
Thrift. And it wasn't. So that's why I asked the question, because truly you guys were way ahead of the curve on that one. And with curated thrift, it's such a big, like now it's such a big thing, but back then it just wasn't.
Yeah. And it's funny to hear that like we were like
truly
an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, I don't know, a better way to say it, we wanted to be like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there were people that like, truly an OG, kind of one of the OGs, because there there are actual OGs in vintage and thrift that look at us like the newbie that's like,
because I mean, there's been stuff like the Rose Bowl and like all that stuff that's been going on.
Vantage in Salt Lake. Those dudes back in the day were at the bins before people knew what the bins was, you know? And so to see
the bins that's like a thing that like is on Instagram and you're like, we're going to the bins today.
The bins, it's an activity.
Is insane because nobody knew about that.
Dude. And like
anything. Yeah. It was like weird. Like, you're like, what are you doing here?
It's so funny too. Cause I can't think of lifestyle. Like, first of all, everyone at the bins is amazing. I love you guys, but there is this sense of like
kind of it's not the same.
No, not that it's not the same. I really need to be careful with how I say this too. It's intimidating to see someone that's digging properly and like try to kind of go in their bin and like pull from it. It's intimidating.
I'm sure. Like, because there's pieces. I mean, I've seen pieces you post that are like, some of that shit's worth like a couple grand.
Yes.
And so it's like, people are there to not only like make their living, but like also find stuff that they have been looking for a long time.
That's the intimidating part is it feels kind of like you're taking food out of someone's mouth because if you're not going to the bins to buy this shirt, like I think of the 16-year-old girl that's like, oh, let's go to the bins today.
Yeah.
That's the person that's actually going to go to one of these like flea markets and potentially buy the shirt that they found and like are reselling and like paying their bills. To have them go directly to the source is in a sense kind of cutting off some of these sales that people were relying on before, you know? And so
right now, what's the process for Moby kind of going through that stuff? Like, do you guys do much of that anymore? I know it's switched a little bit, but like, do you guys still go to the bins and search through all the stuff?
I learned really early on that I was not the best thrifter, 100%. Like these dudes that I was meeting that are at the bins every day and going, when they're not in the bins, they're in the thrift store, and on their way home from the restaurant, they'll stop at a different thrift store. And like, these dudes are insane and make me look like a fool.
Yeah.
I am a huge believer in synergy, that working together with someone can create something better together than like both of you guys working individually.
Totally.
And so I really wanted to be teammates with these guys and let them know like, hey, I'm going to put all my focus and energy into building a brand that's going to sell this item. I need you to focus on finding the item and I'll pay you more and more consistent than like, I guess I wouldn't pay more, right, than these average customers, but I can promise you that big pile of clothes that you just like spent a week building up, I'm going to come buy it all from you.
Yeah.
Because I'm focused so much on making sure my customer is there ready to buy that shirt for you. Right?
Yeah. I remember when sorry, this is kind of way off topic, but I like had some clothes and you guys had moved on to like thrift stuff. And I was like, I wonder if Andrew's going to want any of this. And I showed you all of it. He's like, man, you're like, no, I don't want any of it. And I was like, that's funny. You guys have moved on completely from like that old shit and went to like real thrift. And then now you guys do like fully custom stuff.
It's like, I honestly don't feel worthy to be interviewed because in a million like different like lives, this could have gone really poorly. You know what I mean? Like we were just trying anything to fly by and like pay our bills. That was really it. Is like, I think that
did it feel like you struck gold with that Diana tee?
Yeah, we bottled lightning with that with that Diana tee.
Literally
100%.
Like, did you know when you guys, I'm guessing you and Lucy, when you guys designed that, like, did you know it was going to be that big? Or were you just hoping?
I knew it was going to do well. I didn't expect it to do what it did at all. And
do you have numbers on like what you guys have, like not what you've sold, but how many units you've sold?
I would imagine we've sold 2,500 units already.
That's crazy.
Dude, it's been amazing.
I mean, like I see it everywhere. It's like a phenomenon. Like I can't even imagine what that's been like. When you release it, what was that kind of like first drop like of that t-shirt?
Well, it's funny because it would be really cool to be like, oh, you know, I was going to my buddy's house and then I realized I didn't want to anymore. So I made a Diana shirt and then made it $1 million. Which just so anyone knows, I didn't make $1 million off of that shirt. It's funny because both of you guys actually have come into my life before that point at all, and like seen kind of like, I mean, with you were a huge part with like Moby back in the beginning. I think when we started, it was like essentially find anything good for cheap, and if you can sell it, great. Yeah. We were like
I sold you like a couple pairs of
shoes, Supreme kit.
Yeah.
Like we thought we were like literally inventing the internet by selling vintage and like Supreme. We were like, did we just,
I mean, in Utah,
do something?
You were a little bit like,
dude,
in Utah, it wasn't crazy big at the time.
It wasn't.
And so you were a little bit, but like, I mean, I know it's like in LA and like, it's hard to beat it over there, but in Utah, you guys were early.
Much. Yeah. We were early. Yeah. And then from there, we started, I don't know if you guys remember, we started doing like, we would find vintage like Nike and Adidas and things like that. And we would embroider Nike logos all over a vintage Nike piece, or like just random additions to vintage clothes to kind of stretch from just selling whatever we found to like potentially putting our mark on it or customizing it.
And that was, and you did the like embroidered Moby.
We did embroidered Moby that looked like a swoosh. And that kind of led us to trying to figure out how we would customize clothes. I ended up customizing some clothes for Mr. Jones. Like, dude, I hope you know at that moment, you were like saving me. And I know that's like funny, but like, I think during that time, there was some stuff going on in my life that was seriously like world ending. Like I thought that my career, or not even career, I just thought that my purpose of life was pretty much over. And,
it's just tough to get through.
It was really tough to get through.
Yeah.
And even one person thinking that what I was doing was cool was enough to like help me do it the next day.
Yeah.
And
sometimes that's really like all it takes is one person be like, dude, this is dope.
Yeah.
Like we've had some like people come down here and like in our eyes, it's not finished. But people come down here like, this is like awesome. It's so cool that you guys are doing that. And just that like sense of like, okay, someone actually likes what I'm doing. Like I'm not crazy. Like this is a good feeling. And then it makes you want to keep going.
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, you will look back on this and this little unfinished basement and be so grateful for it.
Yeah. Dude. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for.
At that moment, if you had interviewed me, I still wouldn't know where I was going.
Yeah.
I think that was like, that's where I feel like I don't feel worthy is, it's not like I had, from the very get-go, I knew exactly what I was doing. I had no idea where this was leading.
Yeah.
But I was learning stuff along the way that was extremely helpful and let me know what I didn't want to do. You know, I didn't, as much as dude, there were times where I was in someone's like attic finding old vintage shit and being like, this is the best thing in the whole world. But doing that enough made me realize,
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to leave my family to go dig through someone's old hot attic, sweating my butt off, trying to find a vintage shirt that I can sell for $40.
Yeah.
And then go to Costa Vida and get 2 entrees and a chips and cheese for $35.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I'm like hoping that you'll find that next piece that will pay for the next meal.
Dude, it's just, and that was the other like worst part about like the vintage scene. I'm sorry, I sound like a complainer, but it's like,
no, I get it.
Dude, I found a shirt once. I didn't even find it. I bought it from Vantage for, I think they gave me a deal on it. It was like $250. The shirt is a vintage mosquito head shirt. If you know vintage, you know about this shirt. They sold it to me and I ended up selling it for like $700, $800. And I was so stoked and was like, oh my God. $800 for a shirt. Like I just hit the jackpot. And then I didn't have a shirt to sell anymore. And it's like,
okay, on to the, you're living, instead of living paycheck to paycheck, you're living like t-shirt to t-shirt.
T-shirt to t-shirt. But that's the other thing is like paycheck to paycheck, you at least know in a few weeks you're getting another one.
You're getting another one.
I didn't know that in 2 weeks I was getting another shirt from Vantage that I could sell. And like I sat on that shirt for 6 months before it sold. So like, so
you sit on stuff for a long time.
It's just like,
and so when you guys when you made that Diana shirt, and you realize like, okay, this is was that kind of when you realized like, this is the way I want to take?
Yeah,
you guys wanted to take it.
So before the Diana, we made a shirt that was based off of, like the American Thunder shirts with all the lightning.
I love that shirt.
It's a great shirt.
It's such a good shirt.
That one, I feel like
the puff print on that, dude. I saw that and I was like, I need that shirt,
dude. And at the time,
I didn't get one. I need to get one.
I should have brought one. That shirt.
No, I'll order one.
That shirt, I think, was like our foot in the door, right?
Yeah,
because before that shirt, everything that we had done, even the stuff that we had customized or stuff that we had tried to make whole, like bulk orders of, or like, I guess the real word that I'm looking for is scalable.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing we were doing before nothing before making a shirt was scalable. It was all sustainable. And that is like a huge part of the brand. It's our mission statement. And part of that is like, I believe that when you set your mission statement, it's like an internal compass. It's a truth for what you got to do in the future. And so I think that's probably the reason it took so long to get to a point where we were making a shirt, was because the whole argument to our brand was like, don't buy a new shirt.
Yeah.
Don't buy a new shirt. Buy a used one. There are so many good shirts out there. Don't buy a new one.
Yeah.
And then we felt like we were going to go make a new shirt. It just did not feel right. Did not sit right. And so
didn't feel genuine.
We debated it for like a really long time if we were going to do it. And I think that the way we kind of sold ourselves on being able to do it is we didn't want to release anything that wouldn't be cool in a few months.
Yeah. See, I think that's what's so great about the Diana tee is it looks like a vintage t-shirt. So you're like, okay, if I find this in like 10 years, I'm like, oh, sick.
Exactly. That
I'm not going to throw it away.
Like
it's going to be cracked a little bit and I'm going to want to wear it again.
Exactly. Yeah. That was like the whole goal is like, if we find ourselves making a shirt that someone's getting rid of in a few months because it's no longer trendy or like, dude, I hope you know, and I hope anyone that listening to this knows that's ever thought like, wow, they've been releasing that Diana tee for a really long time. Like, when are they going to do something new? I've had so many ideas for new shirts that are so fun. They won't be in style in a year.
Yeah.
I can already tell you that like the stuff that I've come up with is just not, that's why we haven't done it, is because it won't, like, I don't know.
Every time I wear that shirt, like I put it on and I know I'm like, okay, I have to prepare myself because I'm going to get like 10 people that are going to stop me and be like, where'd you get that shirt? I'm like, I got it in a movie. Does it bug you a little bit that some people, like, I mean, now online, you can find them everywhere. Some people have like stolen them.
There are, I feel like that's how you know.
Is it upsetting a little bit? I guess no,
it's like, we've made it. Someone's bootlegged a shirt that I've made.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Cody. And every time I see him, I'm like, oh, there's a
there
shirt.
It is.
There it is. Yeah. I think it's so cool that you guys did that. And it's such an awesome shirt.
I think you said it right. Like, you have to kind of prepare yourself when you wear the Diana shirt, because you can't expect who's going to talk to you or who's not going to talk to you. You'll have an old woman come up to you and be like, so you're a believer? You think she's still alive? Yeah. It's like,
you're like, whoa.
No,
nope.
It's just a cool shirt.
It's a cool shirt.
I also think like, and this is just a thought that I've had for a long time and have been like waiting for the right time to like get it out there. But I feel like every dude I know, not every dude, but a lot of people are like looking for something that instantly like makes them more attractive or like more approachable or like is going to get someone's attention when you are out, or like, there's nothing like that exists besides like maybe cologne. Like you can be pretty ugly, but if you smell nice, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
At least he smelled nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, you can look like Quasimodo and wear that Diana out to a bar and people will talk to you.
It's so strange.
It's weird.
Such a weird thing. Like, I haven't noticed it with anything else I wear. Everybody, and I think it definitely has to do with Diana, but I think people like loves, because on the back you could see all her like iconic outfits, and I think people like love that.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh my gosh, they know about Diana. Like I can go talk to them.
Yeah.
And so
instant rapport.
And so it was such a good little good piece to release. Moving on from that and sustainability, and it kind of goes hand in hand. You guys released the Diana tee, and I think Ghosted Garments kind of had that's the next thing that you made pretty much was a fully made t-shirt was Ghosted Garments, correct?
Yeah.
Sort of?
I don't know why I'm like having a hard time with that. That's 100% true. And I don't know why
I was just like trying to connect the dots, but I'm pretty sure that it's like, cause it's not recycled. It is recycled fabric. They're not vintage t-shirts. You completely made them.
Correct. So I went golfing with Bronson, who's the co-owner of Lonely Ghost one day. And I was telling him a little bit about what I do. And he was asking questions about the shop. And it was just a very, very rough idea at the time, but I mentioned something because I had similar for Mr. Jones. I think we even did this. We did like an OG Ghosted Garments. We took the vintage blanks that I had been saving up back in the day, and we had put like some logos on it. So I'd already had some experience like doing merch for certain people with vintage clothes, and like Lonely Ghost is already so well known and like just they're crushing it at this moment.
I mean, if you don't know who Lonely Ghost is, I don't know, leave. You should know.
Yeah, you should know. You should know.
It's huge.
Yeah, if you're in Utah and you don't know it, look it up.
So originally it wasn't like what it is now. Just recently, what you guys released, it was just vintage blanks you had.
It was just vintage blanks that I had, and so, I mean, that was kind of the idea that I pitched him on. Was like, dude, I've been making like merch for certain people using like vintage blanks.
Yeah,
that would be so cool for Lonely. And at the time, Lonely Ghost was opening it was going to be a month-long pop-up. That they were going to be in a retail location for a month. For anyone that wanted to come shop, they could come find it there. And they had planned 4 weeks of stuff. Like they wanted to make sure that if anyone came in the 4 weeks, it was going to be good. It wasn't like if you didn't come to the first few days, it's past now. It's not worth it. They were like, we're constantly going to have stuff. And so working with both of those concepts of trying to maintain something that will keep the store cool for a whole month, and this idea of like vintage, we came up with Ghosted Garments.
Who came up with the name?
I came up with the name. Thank you.
That's best name,
dude.
It's such a good name. It's so hard.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's an abandoned piece of clothing.
It's awesome. It's such a good name. I love that name.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And this was at their like Lonely Ghost grocery. Is that where this was? Okay, so this is okay.
This I like us talking about it was at their office space, but the whole plan around Ghosted Garments was we could come up with 25 unique one-of-one pieces that would drop in store weekly every Friday, or I think it may have been every Saturday. No, it was every Friday morning.
Yeah.
And so we ended up curating 100 pieces total. It was going to be 25 for each week, and it was exactly what the store needed to show up and see lines of people that were waiting for a specific vintage piece. Yeah. It was sustainable. The brand at that point hadn't done anything that was aimed towards sustainability.
Yeah.
And not that it's not relevant now, because sustainability will always be relevant, but at the time, I think sustainability was very relevant. It was when thrifting was at its peak. People were, fast fashion, and it was the perfect time to release it. We since then, the store's been open for over a year, and we have dropped Ghosted Garments in store every week for the last year.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, every Friday.
I mean, it's such a good idea because everybody, like you said, everybody wants that like one-on-one piece, and what better way to do that than a vintage piece,
100%,
literally. And so when did it kind of what were the talks about transitioning it from like vintage blanks to
what it is now,
fully made custom shirts?
Dude, that was like the most frustrating part is like I felt like just from coming on just doing Moby and like making like in the vintage game, if you can drop something and have 25 people lining up outside of a store for like vintage, it's like, hell yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, the stuff that I'm doing for Lonely Ghost is absolutely crushing. This is amazing. Those 25 pieces are a drop in the bucket to what like Lonely Ghost is capable of doing with their influence. Right. And so I'm spending hours and hours and hours of time doing this, like working on this part of the brand that is so not scalable at all. And that was frustrating. That was like,
because I mean, the collections they do are like, I mean, it's crazy.
I mean,
you're currently head of production now.
I am the head of production.
On that.
Thank you so much.
Like, that's a pretty new job.
It's been here. I've been doing it for about a year.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, you know what those huge collections look like.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, with vintage, probably very annoying to not.
It was just
that much.
It felt like I knew I was capable of helping the large scale, the important things, because I knew that this small, like if I can spend hours and hours of attention on this one small portion of the business, what would it look like if I was given the opportunity to really like step into a position?
Totally.
And at the time, Moby was next to a manufacturer that they were using to make some of their sweaters. And
like your offices down,
like our offices down in Provo at the time was next to, like it was a full sew shop essentially. And Lonely Ghost had purchased a bunch of blanks that were going to go into production there, but they hadn't finalized a design.
Okay. Cool.
And at this point they'd already given me their assets to be printing on for the ghosted garments. And so I kind of had an idea of like what it could look like.
Yeah.
And I remember having a conversation with Bronson, the owner, where I was like, listen, trust me. And that was it. I was like, I'm going to do these hoodies. Just trust me.
Yeah.
And we made the hoodie that I wanted to. Is this layered patch hoodie where sorry for touching the mic. It's essentially, a small piece of fabric sewn into the hoodie, and then they keep adding more layers of fabric on top of it, kind of like a Russian doll. And then it's very interactive. So you can cut the patches that we've sewn in off the hoodie and then sew them in separately, or you can keep them all cut off and it basically looks like you've just done a ton of layers. It's super, super interactive.
Okay.
We made some content of this hoodie and it went viral. It got millions of views.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think that was like kind of not like an eye opener, but it was finally like I had finally proven myself to do more than just this like weekly drop of vintage.
Yeah.
It was like I was capable.
It's such a big step up from thrift stuff to making your own completely owned stuff. Like, I mean,
so different.
It's just so much different, but yeah, I mean, the fact that you could prove to yourself that you could do it, it's super awesome.
That was really it. I think it proved to me more than it proved to them that I was capable of doing this, because I think in their eyes up until that point, I was already so confident, because you have to be. You can't be like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but trust me. I was
fake
like,
it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. Fake it till you make it. I was like I remember when I told him like, trust me, hanging up and being like, holy shit,
You're like, I hope this
I
works.
hope I can do something cool with this. Otherwise, like, I'll never get this chance again.
Totally.
And from there, stepped in. I stepped into the role of production head at Lonely Ghost.
Yeah. And what's that been like this past year and a half?
Oh my gosh. I can't even begin to explain.
Yeah. Do you guys do your production here in Utah, or is it?
We do a lot of it in Utah.
Wow, that's awesome.
When they started off, they came from, just like every other clothing brand, you come from humble beginnings where you're just printing your logo or graphic or design onto a blank. And they've gone full circle where we have developed like what we consider the perfect hoodie from scratch, from the yarn that's being milled together.
Okay, did you do it on that Connect hoodie?
We did it on the Connect hoodie.
Because I have that hoodie, and I remember
Which one do you have? Like the brown?
The heavyweight one.
Yep.
And I remember getting that. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, cause I'd like seen some Lonely Ghost. It was the first Lonely Ghost I'd ever gotten.
The Connect one.
The Connect
okay,
one.
You got a good one then. That's a good one to start off with.
Cause that design was just so cool. But, yeah, I remember like getting it out of the bag and I was like, this is way nicer quality than just because I mean blanks are so popular,
right?
And so it was just more than I was expecting, and it's one of my favorite hoodies now.
I love to hear it.
It's such a good hoodie.
Yeah,
so you guys sew those hoodies
from scratch.
Wow,
we created that hoodie rather than just being like, this is a cool graphic, let's put it on whatever.
That's awesome.
It was like let's start from the yarn. Let's focus on. If you can think about an aspect of the hoodie, like I know Mad Happy does the same thing. I'm looking at the hoodie that you're wearing. The space between the cuff links, the little stripes that you're seeing, that's by intention. Every little thing can be changed, and if they want it away, it's because if it is away, it's because they made it that way. It's not like
you order 100 of these units and they're that way forever.
Exactly, and like I mean, even the detail on your hood, that little like sew in of blue, those are the little things that like they're doing that to let you know that this is not
a blank.
This is not a blank.
Yes.
This is from scratch. They've put every second of thought
and I think that's the perfect way to explain it. When I got that hoodie, it didn't feel like a blank, which is such a better feeling because you're like, it just feels like you're getting something that I'll have for a long time.
Yeah. I want to do things that are good by the earth and make me feel good about myself. And by focusing on an article of clothing that's going to actually be worthwhile and last someone more than a season. Totally checks that box for me.
Yeah.
I think your original question was about these ghosted garments and like why. So kind of how
the
that
most
changes.
recent ones,
the most recent
the
ones.
Stripes.
So back to that, to the scalability of things and the sustainability of things. Going to vintage shops and buying their vintage blanks and printing on them is amazing.
Yeah.
But we could never keep up with Lonely Ghost audience. I could every day be going to a different vintage shop and buying them out of blanks completely, and it wouldn't keep up with the online drop. So the new ghosted garments that we did, we wanted to keep it sustainable and focus on more than like a mass production of something.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be more sustainable than just making a high quality piece of clothing. We wanted it to be truly sustainable while also being more scalable, that it, like if we're going to take a photo of it, we have more than one to sell of it.
Yeah.
So there are rag houses in LA in the fashion district that are,
I've been to those,
just overflowing
interesting
in fabrics. And
okay. And that's where you guys got them?
Yeah. So, I mean, just my elevator pitch on why vintage is scalable. Shirts take up resources when you make them. Yeah. Everything from the construction of the fabric itself. A lot of it is in the dye, like to dye a shirt a black, for example, it has to go through several rounds of washing, which is gallons and gallons and gallons of water, electricity, to sew it together. Like all of these resources that it's taking up end up making an impact with like the amount of shirts that exist. Like it's very minuscule, but when there's a million shirts that exist, it leaves a footprint, right? Totally.
How many ghosted garments were you able to get out of the fabrics that you guys found?
So I don't have an exact number of like how much fabric we initially bought.
Yeah.
But I know we ended up making about 450 of these ghosted garments that were constructed by Vintage Fabric into our boxy tee.
Yeah.
And that was between 19 variants.
Okay.
So between 19 different different materials, or different fabrics, we made 450 shirts.
Yeah. I love those ghosted garments. It's such a, like, I don't know. I love them. And I don't really know how to transition to this next question, but it is something that I definitely want to get into. Just you and Lucy and your guys' family. I think throughout this whole thing, you guys have been like such a cool duo. And Retroflect, love that. I bought something a while ago. And
Thank you.
And I bought something for my sister and she loves it. Anyway,
Lucy
great
remembers
idea.
you.
Does she really?
She does.
I remember texting her, getting my stuff
dude,
from her.
That is like her superpower is she will remember.
That's funny that she remembers me. I think I only texted her. That's hilarious.
No,
but
I was like, I'm doing a podcast with Jack Turner. And she was like, oh, tell him I say hi.
That's so funny.
Like, all right.
Yeah, Lucy's awesome. She's so great. You guys just had a kid, which is wild. What has that been like? Like, what is? I mean, no need to get cheesy, but please do.
No. Let's start with Lucy, and then we'll get to the kid.
Yeah.
Lucy is amazing. Having her has been the best thing in the entire world.
Yeah. Having someone by your side.
Yeah.
Sure. Like,
just a business partner huge part in general. Yeah, she is. I've mentioned several times that we really stick true to our mission statement. That is because of her. She, when she is sold on something personally, she does not sway from her decision. Yeah. She's locked in, and it's so helpful. Yeah. She's been a huge role of Moby, because I mentioned this in the podcast. It was her idea. This whole business of Moby started from her business idea in college.
Yeah. And I didn't know that she went to fashion school. That is so cool.
Dude.
So, I mean, obviously it's something she's wanted to do for a long time, is kind of start a fashion brand.
Yes. I think that was like probably Moby's biggest hurdle to get over was, at the time when I worked at Vivint, she was also working full time at Jane.
Okay.
So we're both working full time, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
She comes up with this business plan. We both put our heads down for a year and a half, and then it's finally to a point where it's like, we should spend more time doing this. So I quit, and she stays working.
Shout out to her.
Shout outs, Lucy.
Keeps on working.
I can't even explain to you.
Yeah.
How grateful I am for what she did, and like allowing me to do that. Mm-hmm. She took a huge risk, and she had every right to say, hey, it should be me. This is mine.
Yeah.
But she didn't, and she trusted me and had hope. And thank you.
What's
Lucy,
it been like kind of running that business together? I mean, running just from my parents, they run a business together, and that's hard.
It is so hard.
And I imagine it's the same, but what's kind of like, how have you guys gotten not through that, but like, what's your way of running business together?
There are some days where we are so aligned and things are so smooth. And then there's some days where she feels a way about something and I feel a way about something.
Yeah. And
it's not aligned. And it really teaches you a lot about character and how you're going to react and respond to certain situations. Totally. I think finding compromises in any situation is crucial, where if she can't get what she wants, then I'm willing to sacrifice what I want to give us a solution that we're both okay with, rather than just saying, hey, I know this is not what you want, but we're going to go forward with it anyway. There's always a solution that we can come to. Mm-hmm. But that is not easy. And there are certain times where I wish that my business partner was not my wife and that it was someone that we could just...
You had no connection to.
Yeah, no connection to. We can reason, just because I wanted my relationship with my wife to be way better than where it was at, because we were disagreeing about a business argument or something like that.
Totally. But I bet there's times where it's like awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
It's a lot easier. Yeah, it's a lot easier when things are going good than when things are going bad. For sure.
My family has had rough times, and those times are not good.
Very rough.
Because people are always like, you got to keep your working life separate, but when your business partners together, that's not really a thing.
Not at all.
And so when business is rough, life is rough.
Right.
And so, but you guys have obviously become very successful in your own ways, and it's incredible what you guys have built and what you're going to continue to build. And with a baby now, what kind of I don't know. People always say like, as soon as you have a kid, you have like a new like work, like inspiration.
Yeah.
Does it feel like that, or is it kind of?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Like?
Yeah. I'll explain. It's not like I wake up every morning now and I'm like, I've got a child to feed. Like everything I'm still doing, I'm doing for my own motivation. I'm doing because I love.
Totally.
But I'll find time every day, and like I don't do it for the motivation at all. Mm-hmm. But I find every day, if I'm busy throughout the day and she's already gone to bed, I'll hold her asleep and just find time to like hold this human that you made, that you are responsible for taking care of.
Yeah.
And it's not stressful. It's not like you're staring like, oh my God, I have to take care of you.
Yeah.
You're looking at it like,
oh, I get to take care of you almost.
Like I get to be your dad, and I get to provide, and like, I can't even explain. I know that when I heard that when I didn't have a kid, I was like you, like,
you can't explain. Yeah.
It's probably great. Explain it like that. But it's seriously just like, it's better than great. It's just this overwhelming sense of like peace and calmness, and really you're trying to provide for this baby because of the benefit that brings you. Like,
yeah, totally.
It's like you couldn't stop even if you wanted to. It's not like this like responsibility. It's like, it's giving you so much more than you're giving it.
It's giving so much joy that you're like, I guess I should probably give something back.
Yeah. It's giving so much joy when you hold this baby that all your decisions are there to make sure that little baby keeps breathing because of how much joy it brings you. Kind of weird way to look at it, but it's just,
that's a perfect way to look at it. I think that's awesome. I think that's like literally like perfect way to answer that. With that being said, what's like the future for you, Lucy, your kid now, and Lonely Ghost? What's that kind of look like?
Oh man.
I mean, lots of bases to cover in that one question.
Yeah.
But mainly what's the future look like?
I think I said this before. If you asked me a few years ago, what my future looked like, I would have never been able to tell you. I have absolutely no idea what my future looks like.
Yeah.
I do know.
I feel like I hate to ask that question because I hate getting asked that question. Because you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. And I'm just kind of like, okay, but I want to make my own future. Right. Do you feel that same way?
Yeah, no, I believe that if you want something, you have to know what you want. You have to begin with the end in mind. And so it's lame of me to say, I have no idea, because I have a million aspirations for what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
But I've seen my future play out differently than I'd planned too many times to like, to plan. Yeah. To not be okay with the circumstance changing and going with whatever life brings.
Yeah. If you were to give like some sort of advice to kind of, I know you're like, you've said multiple times, like you could have never predicted for this to happen. But if you were to give some sort of advice to like how to get to like the point you're in, how to leave, like, I mean, you left a very big paycheck and a very like stable job to get to where you're at. What would be like that advice?
Nothing that has happened in my life has been just handed to me. I don't think. Mm-hmm. I think all of it has happened because I've put myself in a position where I'm taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
I am not scared of the outcome of the circumstance. I'm scared of not taking advantage of that opportunity to shoot the shot.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think even if you try something and fail, it's better than not have tried in the first place.
I mean, I loved what you said in the beginning about like, if you have an idea, if you have like an aspiration and you have $100 in your pocket and you're not using that $100 to make that happen, like what are you doing?
You've already lost.
You've already lost.
Yeah.
Like then you're not going to make it happen. If you're not trying to make it happen, you're not going to make it happen.
Right.
And I feel like that's just, I mean, like I love that. I feel like that's going to resonate for sure. But
I think, I think never saying no to something
Yeah.
is really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I also think recognizing, and this one I still struggle with so bad, but recognize when you say yes to something, you're saying no to a million other things. Right. And I feel like that has helped me in so many ways, because I always say yes. You can hit me up and be like, hey, do you want to make some merch for my band? I'd be like,
sure.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Doing that merch set me up to do Lonely Ghost in this weird way. I could not have talked to Lonely Ghost or Bronson and been like, hey, I do merch for people with recyclable blanks, if it wasn't for the opportunities that I said yes to. Who knows if I did say no to those and said yes to other things, where I would be not here. Yeah. But I just recognize, say yes to as much as you can, but also recognize when you say yes to something, you're saying no to a million other things.
Mic drop. That was awesome. If you have anything else to add, please feel free. But
I did have something. I can't remember what it was going to be.
Or Zach, if you had any questions. But
just that merch was so big for us as well, and it was scary to like come to you being Moby. For me, just like reaching out of nowhere, not knowing you, just being like, hey man, I have this idea. And then just like being in your house and on the screen printer, and like, we used your blanks and we got to like go through the stuff you had, pick something out. At that time, of course, I have no idea that it had that impact on you. But for us, like literally, no joke, 3 days ago, I sold another one of those from a guy on the street, just saying, I love that shirt.
Way.
And the band doesn't even exist anymore, but saw that shirt of the one you made with me then. And he was like, hey, I love that shirt. I'm like, it's my band. He's like, I don't care. I need it. And sold it. That's 3 days ago. So
wow.
Just the effect of like you on a smaller scale, like in your kitchen making it, and then going to Lonely Ghost and doing sort of the same idea on a bigger scale is just awesome to see that. It was important to both sides, and it's awesome to see where you went.
Thank you so much.
That's great. I didn't even know that was a thing that you guys did. Like,
dude, that's
so cool though.
Was
that the first like screen printing you'd ever done, or?
Dude, it wasn't even screen print. It was like, like Cricut, like the
the thing that
vinyl
comes down and
cutter that you like do like scrapbooking with.
Totally.
We were cutting out heat transfer vinyl.
Oh yeah.
And then, dude, that was the other thing that was like so hard. You see that art back there, like the multicolor head splatter.
Yeah.
With heat transfer vinyl, you can typically only do one color because it's just like it cuts it out, and then you take this, like it's just a big block of a color, and then you cut out your thing and pull it off, and then you're left with just like, we had to turn that like 6-color design into a single color. Like, dude, there was just
to make it work.
Dude, like that's the thing. I hope you know, Zach. I didn't know Adobe. I'm literally taking this file, putting it into Adobe, and like messing around with pen tools. That's awesome. Doing that, learning pen tools has done so much.
That's wild.
Like that's where I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I was wanting to say is like Lonely Ghost. The most valuable thing about Lonely Ghost, in my opinion, is what I've learned from this experience, because the same feeling that I had when in my kitchen hand pressing these like vinyls onto things, where I was thinking like, I'm learning so much. This isn't what I don't want to be pressing clothes till 2 a.m. to make 7 shirts by a concert deadline. Like, I don't want to be doing that. I knew then I didn't want to be doing it, but I knew then that the stuff that I was learning was going to help me in the long run. I am glad what I'm doing at Lonely Ghost right now. I'm loving that I'm here, but I still have the same feeling that I had in my kitchen then. That's just overall the value of the things that I'm learning and the capacity that I now have going forward for future projects is so much better than it was before I said yes to this.
I mean, yeah, perfectly said. Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to end. But if you have anything to add, feel free. But thank you so much for coming on.
No, if you listen to this, thank you so much. hope you guys know that I don't know how many times I need to say this, but I don't feel qualified to be in front of a camera talking about things that I'm doing because I didn't know what I was doing and I just kind of ended up here. And,
but I think that's perfect. I don't think anybody really knows what they're doing.
No one
knows what they're doing.
No.
The more I'm in this industry, the more I realize like, oh, I could do that too.
Yeah.
I just like, you just have the title now. So it's like, if you know the right people and you're courageous enough to like put yourself in those positions to be like, to get those kind of opportunities, the opportunities will flow towards you
100%
all the time.
100%.
But
well said.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. No, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's been a blast.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, guys.
And we're out.